Hey, set six is approaching. So I don't know. I said it like so serious. Set six comes out this Friday from the point I'm recording this video, and I just sort of wanted to do like a week one rundown guide. I am hoping to write a week one, actually get this all on paper because I know some people appreciate the guides more, which is awesome. I can do both medias of videos and guides. But going to week one, of course, people don't know what to look for, what to pack for, what to trade for, how to build the list, and all those things like that. And I'll just go over sort of the way I'm going to approach it going into the first week because I think we don't need to change too much. As it's always been said, like Blue Steel is very much a deck that likes to respond to what it sees in the meta. We have a very good finisher and closer with Dime and then big questing targets like Aerial or Tamatoa. So the majority of the game is just making sure we don't lose up to that point. A lot of steel removal, controlling the board, also rampant options to get to that end game. And into certain matchups like the discard decks where we don't tend to do the dime and stuff like that, we basically just want to lock them out with our removal and stuff like that. So we basically want to make sure we cover all the matchup bases and we just basically want to make sure we don't lose to those decks. The only one really race is Ruby Sapphire, but I found with no wheel, you actually have a fairly good matchup into them now. But I'm over explaining what I'm trying to say here. I don't think we need to change much. I think we just basically need to wait and see um, what decks get popular, what everyone's playing at locals, what everyone's going to be playing at DLCs, and then we'll change the lists from there. But going in, yeah, I still think an aerial dime finisher is still the best way to go right now, as we just don't know how the meta is going to adapt, and I still think there's just viable places for that. So this is sort of a no. This is the wheel list that I'm going to be looking at building. For set one, as you see, there's not like much from set six. There's only really three cards in there. I really want to try that Jim Hawkins shift line. It's sort of been explained to me a bit more, and I'm really quite impressed by that as well. So I really want to try that. And then Sail, I think, is just going to be the alternative ramp option that we keep. We're probably going to be testing it. We are going to be testing that at week one, and I think it's probably going to be the best one, just from all the environments where I've been able to test set six cards online and locally. Sail just seems to overperform every time, mainly because it gives you the ink readied, and having that one extra ink is just really, really good to pop a fire the cannons or play another Porpsicle and just keep the deck cycling and keeping it smooth. So the card basically added consistency as well as it added ramping, which is like the two things we really want. And I know a lot of people weren't Tifo believers. I still, to like my day, to this day, I think Tifo was really good in the meta before we got Sail. But as you saw with Ruby Sapphire, they got in that set Tifo and they got Visions of the Future. And both those cards, all they did was improve ramping and improve consistency, as it let you scry better and it let you ramp a lot more efficiently. So yeah, those two cards were awesome. And we basically for Sapphire decks is all we want is that really. We probably want some better steel removal, but we just seem to never get any. And they keep adding bodies that have four attack, four health, sorry. So it's getting a little bit worrying. But right now, I'm not. The only card that I'm really afraid of is the Genie, the 2/4 Genie. But it didn't look like we got any options to deal with that 100%. I just want to see where that card actually lands in the meta. It is an uninkable, so people are going to have to work it into their lists. I don't know if Ruby Amethyst, Purple Steel, and Green Purple all play the card. I think we do need to find some hard answers in there. It looks like Zeus is probably going to be our best answer. But as of right now, I'm just managed to get through the games with Steel mathing, which is like grab your swords into a fire the cannons. So yeah, I think definitely for the first week I'd try this and try and see how the meta lands and see what cards stick, see what cards don't, because you don't really want to be teching and building a deck for a list that's just basically never gonna turn up, or like you know what I mean, like cards that right now seem really broken, but they aren't actually that good in practice, and we never see them in the actual meta. So this would definitely be my wheel list, and not much changes in the no wheel list. I haven't got the 5 cost gym in here because I think you just ramp into Simba and you're actually better off with that. But there could be one to test as well. Chicha keeping the uninks is weird because the uninks in this isn't that bad anymore, and you've got a lot of space to play with things because of the the now the alt ramp option is an uninkable, whole new world and stuff like that. But in here it's like 3 Chichas. I maxed out the fire the cannons because I just don't want to lose to Diablo. And I'll admit I am focusing a lot more on my wheel list than I am my no wheel list, but I'm going to keep both in line and try and keep them updated. But yeah, I don't think there's very much to change here. I think we just keep expanding what we have. I've still found like Porp, Cheecher, Porp, Cheecher, Quill, fire the cannon something into a Tinkerbell or a Hiram and a Smee is just like a really broken opener, and most people can't seem to deal with it, and you're just going to overwhelm them with value because you're going to have so much ink, you're going to have so much card draw, you're going to have so much attack power on the board, you're just really in a strong point. And again, Sail the Azurite Sea should be improving that. The only time I can see us not playing Sail the Azurite Sea is if possibly Tremaine effects get really popular again. So things where we just need bodies on the board, like that's why Mickey was just better than one jump ahead back in that meta when everyone was on Be King Undisputed. But I just don't see RP going back to Be King Undisputed, especially in a Pete meta where Steel Song is a deck that rolls them, and like Be King Undisputed wouldn't do much besides improve a Ruby Sapphire matchup, which I don't know if they're struggling with, and I don't think Be King is the answer if they are struggling with that matchup. And again, I mentioned that the thing that we have right now is Blue Steel isn't the most popular deck. It never ranks high on people's tier lists, and that's always it. I mean, that's a bad representation of the deck because it doesn't look like we're doing very well. But it also means we're never going to get targeted. No one's ever going to go, and how do we tech for the blue steel matchup? Because we just basically never get thought about in testing, and you just don't expect to see it at events. It's such a low percentage. It's like 5% at best, isn't it? Or something like 50 out of 2,000 turn up in their blue steel. Some ridiculous number like that. So yeah, I did slowly start taking the Pete's out of the list to make room because I just feel Pete doesn't fit in no will. And then you have that weird thing of like today's testing, Pete just was overshining. Like he was doing really well, doing loads of work into discard decks and into red decks. So maybe Pete actually does have to stay as a staple of a 2x. But especially with the visions, you seem to find him quite efficiently and use him or just hold him in hand when you need him. So that's bit surprised me as I've always thought Pete was underwhelming until like today. But yeah, I don't think we change much here either. We just go into the meta and then like if we are struggling with a card like Genie or something like that, we can start start teching and changing the deck for that matchup and saying like, okay, the Genie is literally everywhere. I can't stop having to fight a 2/4 and I don't have any answers. Right now, of course, you can do things with the broom. Brooms aren't in either of these lists, but you could do a thing where you cheat your buffer broom, the 2-drop boom, and then hit, and then grab your swords, or grab your swords, fire the cannons. So I think you can steal maps it, but it would be just nice to have a hard answer if it's a card we're commonly coming up across and we just need to kill it. So maybe ramp into Hiram, Hiram draws, get your Zeus, sing Zeus from Hiram, and then just continue your game plan, and it shouldn't have affected you too much. But we'll see. Fire the Cannons, I've kept the 4x as well. I think you do a lot of set 1 cards and like older sets. I'm not really talking much about set 6 here, but I just think Diablo's going to be busted. And Green Purple got so many ways to shift that thing. It's horrible. Green Steel is just going to be everywhere because it's just green steel and it never dies. It's just really powerful. I think Diablo's actually going to get stronger in this set, and we're going to have more answers. And I think people are even going to just include more coves because I think people are realizing if you shift Diablo and play a cove and move into the cove on turn 2, you kind of almost won that game. Like the canned advantage you're going to be up is insane. There is no answer really besides a smash on 3. I think would be the best answer to kill it. Maybe a Flynn hit, Fox bounce, brawl, but even that's expensive, and you have to do that on 4. And at that point, you've just got so much card draw advantage from the Diablo and so much pressure advantage from the Diablo. You just wouldn't be. I'm going too much into how much I hate Diablo right now. I think 4 Fire the Cannons is fine. It's very good right now, and I've kept 2 Hades because people want to try out some of the new fancy cards like Shark Maui. But again, I don't know if Shark Maui is going to stick. If it doesn't stick, then we can go down on the Hades and we can use that unink space and that just space in the deck to put more stuff in. Sorry for the tangent about Diablo there, but yeah, I think this is a very solid way to approach set 6 at least for the first week, and then we can react. We probably won't be out of the gates blazing because we didn't get any like new insane card that finishes the game, like a new better version of Tamatar, Aerial, or Dime as a combo. We didn't get anything like that, so we're not really putting anything out on the table. We're going to have to be fully reacting, as we just tend to do with Blue Steel, and react to the meta and then finish with our usual finishes. Cards to sort of pack and keep. I mean, this cards are common, which is great, and you're gonna want to 4x that thing. Just once you get 4x, foil it. I guess. Like I think you just want to play set, so trade up with your friends and make sure you can get 4 of them. The gyms, I'm gonna try say get a playset of them. I think you're never gonna play 4x of the big Jim Hawkins, the Floodborn one, but just get a playset because you just get. It's how you do TCGs. Get a playset of them. And the little one, yeah, I think get a playset as that as well. I think that's going to be really one we're really going to test out, and I think it's very nice because it can take out a Daisy, and then we could maybe heal the 1 damage off it, or even it would require their Smee hits it to kill it if they play a Smee on 2, which is kind of annoying. because they get a free trade, but it did mean they didn't get two lore, and you killed a daisy, and then the Smee might take some damage, and you can ramp and fire the cannons or remove it. If it takes that one hit when it turns sideways. So maybe there's some. It's not going to be that bad. I think it generally just needs a lot of games in before we say, right, Jim just underperforms every game we play him, or Jim overperforms. But I think Jim Hawkins into shift Jim Hawkins is going to be awesome for location removal and just like swinging board pressure and being like just doing some steel maths and then hitting something for five. I think that combo is going to be really nuts. But of course we need to make sure that um, we need to test it. It just needs that plentiful amount of games before we can say this is really good or this is really bad. On paper, things always look really good. I'm going to use Jafar as an example again, the purple Jafar back then, the Floodborn one that lets you gain a law whenever you draw a card and it's exerted. On paper, it looks insane. It looked broken. Everyone was talking about it. It was like everywhere. But overall, we didn't know how good it was. And then when we actually got playing games, it kind of sucked. So you can use that sort of example here. On paper, it looks really cool to shift it and then swing 5 damage. But like, if we don't get the shift line and we're preying on the shift line, it sucks. If we end up with just a Jim in hand, just playing him on board as a 5/5, is that going to be value enough for us? Is that going to be good enough? I think in a wheel version, yes, because you're going to be able to ramp to it and then play it and then sing wheel. But in a non-wheel, I don't know. It's just two pieces that you need together quite efficiently. So yeah, I think it just needs that plentiful amount of games testing, and we're going to get that in the spaces we can from the week up to it. But then when it hits at 6, you're going to have everyone actually playing the game. You're going to have casuals playing the game and people who don't Lorcana grind like a lot of us who hang out in 20 lore and on the discords and stuff like that. So yeah, I think it's really cards to test and just test out your locals and see if it works. If it's not working for you, you've always got the fallbacks of what we played before with chimpos, brooms and stuff like that as alternatives. But definitely get a playset of them. I've got two left, and they're two that I'm gonna just say you probably don't need to. If you pack a Ralph, probably don't hand it away. Probably keep it for a little bit. I can't see it unless the set launches, it's selling for like loads of money and you want the money. But otherwise, maybe keep it around. Maybe try it out. I've kind of fallen off of it a bit from testing. I did post some lists with it in, but I've tried it on different testing environments now, and it's just too much setup. It's going to get Elsa exerted. Elsa, the 2/5 that exerts a character, seems to be really overperforming, and it seems to be like in every list. So he just sort of dies, and he never gets any value. And when you turn him sideways, yeah, he's just not performing the way I wanted him to. I thought maybe him being on board would be enough pressure that your opponent just won't play a location into it, but the odds are they will actually have removal for it. And the way RP uses Elsa is insane. Green purple can use it as well, and then of course if you play it into a steel matchup, they're just gonna have steel removal for it anyway, so that kind of sucks. And then he's an inkable, so unless you have the quill, you kind of are stuck with this, and you probably just play it, and then it just dies. So I'm not overly sold on it. It's but if you pack some, maybe keep one or two. Maybe not a playset, but I think it's one to keep around and one to keep testing with. And maybe if we use cards like the Alice card that I haven't put on the list of cards to keep as a staple, but maybe that's an honorable mention, I'm going to say, because I haven't got it on my cards to pick. But the Alice, there's a 1/4 that gives something else ward, I think is a good one to keep if you pack it as well, and just do some testing with that to see if you can get some nice combos and any nice interactions with that. It could be protect this, but then do we really want to? I'm going in too deep on this, but we probably don't want to protect this. We want to be protecting other characters that are just bigger and better than Ralph is. But yeah, this card and honorable mention, Alice, are ones to keep as well if you pack them. Oswald, I just don't see the value holding on this card. I've seen no red-blue player be excited about it. I haven't seen the item deck people being excited about it. I think maybe just Queen is better for them, so they're just never excited about the Oswald. Of course, I've seen lots of blue steel players saying it's cool and fun. The testing I've had, if you play like 10 games with this card and you try to get the combo off, like two out of the 10 games, you'll get the dime early on, and then you can dime tap for win really on, which is cool. You might get a Maurice's Workshop and then pop a bunch of other stuff. But the majority of the time, it felt like the deck low rolled rather than high rolling, and that's what this card feels like. It feels like it just wants to high roll you some games, and win off some insane item draws from this thing. But overall, the card just felt very underwhelming in my opinion. So it's one I'd say you probably keep it if you pack it. I think it'll be a fun deck. You might want to make it locals and do your local league with. But right now, I'm just not oversold on the card. But I'm not the best player in the world, and I like to say things that are probably going to end up being wrong. So it might end up being an awesome card. and it's going to be like the card to play with blue steel. But for right now, I'm not oversold on it. But of course, I think you'd keep it, and I don't think the card's going to have much value. Um, but it could be playable. Right now, card market's giving you a whopping 40 euros if you want to sell it, so that would probably be fine. I think you'd be safe to sell it. For me, it stinks a bit of Blue Fassa right now. Like the card looks exciting and new, and maybe people are just getting bored the way you have to play Blue Steel. I especially felt that of Blue Fassa because people really wanted that card to work, but in reality, it just wasn't really working that well. So it would just became what Blue Fassa became, and just this card that sort of floats around, and sometimes people play it. And it feels like Oswald will go into the same category Blue Fassa will. Some people play it, some people really want it to work, but overall, I just don't see it at a competitive level at working amazingly. But definitely, it's one to look out for in your packs. So yeah, that's just my thoughts sort of going into the first week. And as I say, some people have mentioned about a written guide, which would be awesome, and I do like doing some writing. It really gets me thinking about what I write because I have to reread it and everything like that. So yeah, I'll definitely upload one soon and share that around.